Okay, everyone, we're back. We're finally back after all this time. It's October. The world is a vampire. Everyone's talking about Halloween and pumpkins and the dead and all that. Yeah, so anyway, Smashing Pumpkins couldn't be more perfect than that. Um, yeah, this is a ranking video I've been wanting to do for quite a while, and getting into it, I mean, the Smashing Pumpkins, they don't have too many full lengths. Well, they have a fair amount, but the EPs and everything and compilation records make ranking their discography a little harder than a lot of bands. So I'm just going to say right off the bat, I'm not doing the Aeroplane Flies High because there's a lot of repeat B sides on, or A sides, I guess, to go with the B sides, and also American Gothic. I've never heard it, so maybe by the time they release another album, and they're working on a double album, sort of a sequel to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and I think they're also working on I guess, Shiny and Oh So Bright Volume 2? Though I thought that the new record was Volume 2, because the art style, Smashing Pumpkins, this discography is so confusing, but man, what a great band. What a rockin' band. Billy Corgan, they have some great riffs, amazing songs, some great tender moments. They're theatrical, they're ambitious, and yeah, so these guys. So anyway, I'm just holding this because for the first few entries I don't have any physical media here. So 14, start off from the bottom. 14 is going to be Tear Garden by Kaleidoscope. I already messed up the title. Tear Garden by Kaleidoscope. Catchy title, guys. Volume 1 EP. And this was supposed to be a thing where they released a couple songs every once in a while, and eventually it was going to be this big 44 song opus or something like that. Um, so yeah, so this one is the one with "Song for a Son" on it. By this point in their career, I was following because this seemed so ambitious, but I really didn't care all that much anymore musically. And number 13 is going to be Tear Garden by Kaleidoscope Volume 2. So long story short, they kind of abandoned the project. I think it didn't do as well as Billy hoped, and it didn't generate the hype as much as he hoped. And then Oceana became kind of the continuation, but even that didn't continue the story or the project. And it was supposed to be, yeah, so many EPs or whatever. I gotta say, the only song I really like a lot from the EPs is Astral Planes. And even that kind of sounds a little unfinished because there aren't too many lyrics to it. But musically, it's there, it's quite exciting. It just doesn't scale the heights of, any of the band's A sides or B sides, because they have a lot of great B sides in a lot of the eras. But with the Tear Garden project, it just wasn't there. I don't think they were inspired enough. I mean, Jimmy Chamberlain wasn't even in the group, and I think he always adds a lot and is on a lot of their best material. There's no, it's not a coincidence that he's on a lot of their best records, I would say. Number 12 is going to be Machina 2, Friends and Enemies of Modern Music. This was released for free back in 2000 or something, when that wasn't really a thing. Bands weren't giving away their albums for free. You could just download it. It was free, and it continues the Machines of God concept, and musically it's close to it, but you're gonna find at number 12 it's so much lower than Machina 1, and I think one of the problems rather is just the sound quality. It's not consistent. They do sound like a bunch of demos. There's some really cool songs on there. Cash Car Star is I love that one. But yeah, even some of the more tender moments, they're just not produced quite as well as you're used to from the Pumpkins, and so I gotta say, it's number 12. If they ever released it physically, though, I would buy it, definitely. It's very interesting, and I think Billy is working in conjunction with the two projects I already hinted at, he's also remastering Machina 1 and 2, and I feel like there's a big box set that's going to come out, and I really hope it comes out soon, because I feel like he wanted to release it in 2020, but then, you know, COVID and everything happened, so that didn't happen. Number 11 is going to be this one here, as he bends down to get it. A Shiny and Oh So Bright Volume 1. No past, no future, no sun. I gotta look at the cheat sheet for that, or the internet at least, because I can't remember the title. And this was like, the shows they were playing were so good. James was back, Jimmy was back, and I really thought that this would be an amazing album. And I gotta say, it's mostly mediocre. I like Solaria, which is the first single, and a lot of people's one of their lesser favorites, or one they would call more uninspired. I disagree. I really like that one a lot. But I'm not too keen on the other singles, and it's kind of forgettable. Yeah, I don't know. It's nice to hear Jimmy back in the group, though, I will say that. And the tour looked amazing. I watched a whole show. I've never seen the Pumpkins live. The only opportunity I had got squandered. But, yeah, I watched the show in Seattle, like a live stream of it, and it was amazing. They were so good, and I wish they didn't put out what I would say is their most mediocre commercially released full length. So that one comes in at number 11. Put that over there. And number 10, getting into the top 10, Monuments to an Elegy. Making this video, I just realized I didn't have it physically. I would love to have this one. The songs aren't mediocre like they are on the one I just mentioned, Shiny and Oh So Bright, but they're just decent, and there aren't any songs that are like, woo, like God tier, Billy Corgan's, you know, this is like akin to his peak or whatever you want to say. And yeah, so it's decent. Yeah, we'll give it that. It's so weird to have Tommy Lee on drums, you know, instead of Jimmy or the young cat that he had playing with him back in the day. Yeah. You know, I don't actually mind Tommy Lee as a musician. I don't like him that much as a person. And Motley Crue are, I'm sorry to anyone that likes them, but they're probably like my least favorite big rock group. I'm usually pretty, like, I like a little bit of everything. Even bands I don't like, I like a couple songs from, but yeah, I cannot stand those guys. But I will say he is the only one I find talented enough, so he's a good drummer, but it's just so weird to hear him in the Pumpkins. I don't know. Number 9, this one grew on me, and it's been out for about a year now, and I didn't hear it for like 9 months or something. When it was released, I was so kind of disappointed by Shiny and Oh So Bright, and I heard the singles to this one, CYR, and they didn't really do anything for me. They didn't really hype me up that much. And when I finally listened to the record, other than the title track, I would say the singles are the weakest. They sure released a lot of singles. They were really trying for this to succeed. And I don't think it really did much on the charts or anything. None of the singles did all that much. A couple of them hit at alt-rock radio, I guess. But nothing like the Pumpkins' Heyday. But I think it's interesting. It's, you know, not what people expect. You know, it's not big guitars, big Jimmy drums. It's more synth. It's more Depeche Mode oriented. I really like the title track, like I kind of hinted at. And there's a couple other ones that are really good. There's only like 2 tracks that I would say are really, really average, like 2.5 out of 5. Everything else is, you know, better, but there's nothing that's like a 4.5 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5 for me personally. But there's some good ones actually, good ones to add to the huge repertoire. So you know, it's not a failure at all. I think it's a decent record, just like Monuments, and there's some good material in there. And yeah, I wish it wasn't so expensive, or I would pick it up. Number 8 is going to be, and I can finally bring out the rest of the stack. Um, Now, this is a B-sides record, but none of the tracks appeared on any albums. There's 14 of them, and it's from kind of their heyday, like in between Siamese Dream and Melancholy, and these are all taken from Siamese Dream era. It's 1994, this hit, and yeah, I mean, Landslide was on this. That was a single. I remember that getting played on the radio. It's obviously a cover of the Fleetwood Mac classic. And just like the Dixie Chicks, I'm not a fan of this version of Landslide, though I like it way more than the Dixie Chicks, or the Chicks, I guess they're calling themselves now. But I thought they ruined the song. I don't really like Billy singing it that much, but it's sure better than the Chicks version. Everything else on here is really cool. There's some tender moments. There's lots of spacey, shoegazy stuff. It's not as hooky or memorable as Siamese Dream, and I think for the most part, they really chose the best ones to go on Siamese Dream and made that a complete success, a complete classic, just a stellar album, one of the best in its genre. Girl Named Sandoz is really cool. Whir, Soothe, everything on here is, good to great, I would say. Yeah, the only one I'm not too keen on Landslide, but all the rest are really good. So that's 13 for 14. So that's pretty good. What a great B-sides collection. Number 7 is going to be Adore, which a lot of fans did not adore when it came out because it wasn't grunge, it wasn't post-grunge anymore. Had a few hits on it. Perfect was big, which is kind of like 1979 Part 2, but not derivative of it at all. But I remember the video giving me 1979 vibes. Like most videos, I don't remember liking it all that much, but the song is good. Ava Adore is maybe the first Pumpkin song I ever heard. My friend had Big Shiny Tunes 3, which was a various artists compilation of alt-rock songs, and I remember even before Billy started singing, like the bass came in and it's like, whoa, Smashing Pumpkins, okay, I love these guys, even though I don't know who they are or anything. And yeah, so that's definitely a standout. It's not what people expected, but that's something the Pumpkins became known for. I mean, every album of theirs is quite different from the last or the rest of the discography. Everything's very Billy always, but yeah, I don't know. They're all their own thing, of course. This one, I remember good memories of this one because I picked it up like a week before its street date. It just was in the record store I always go in, and it's like I wasn't even really hyped for it at the time because of the Tear Garden. They'd kind of let me down. I wasn't quite as excited, and I think a single was out, but it's like, eh. But then when I saw it a week early, I'm like, oh, it's out early, I gotta have it, and I'm so glad I bought it. Other than the Soundgarden record that was out this year and the Animal Collective record that was out this year, like the year this came out, 2012, this was probably my third most listened to album, and the first two tracks definitely mirror the Siamese Dream kind of heyday, but then the record kind of goes off in its own place, which is, good. I don't think they were derivative at all, but I like those first two rockers. I love Pale Horse. It's kind of repetitious in a way, but it's beautiful. Yeah, I really like that one a lot. It always stood out to me. The title track stands out. Last couple songs, Wildflower, yeah. I think pound for pound, this is a good one. Maybe his writing wasn't as strong anymore, but it was still strong. The ambitiousness was still there. I shouldn't film on these days where I can't talk. It's hard, isn't it? Top 5 already. So Gish, this is the debut. The rockers on here really slay. I Am One kicks things off so well with the iconic drumming. Butch Vig's production. Bury Me is great. Rhinoceros is probably my favorite, but Siva, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that one's really great. Yeah, there's not a bad song on here. All 10 are classics. Would be nice to have this on LP, because I have those two I showed on LP. I've got one other one that's coming up on LP, but it's a classic, and the LP is very slick looking. It has like kind of a glossy, psychedelic look to it in a way. Number 4, and people are gonna say that's way too high. Zeitgeist. This was a very polarizing one. I knew a few people that loved this. I knew someone that didn't even really like. Well, he didn't know the Smashing Pumpkins up till then. Hopefully, he went backwards, because I probably told him to. But he loved this, and but it's polarizing. It sounds like kind of it's made in a garage. Jimmy and Billy are pretty much doing everything you hear because no one else came back. They didn't get Darcy. They didn't even get Oftamar. They didn't get James. But it's I always like this, and it's partly nostalgia. But I went back to listen to it. I don't think it's on Spotify, so you have to have a copy or find it illegally or whatever. But I remember liking every song when this was new, and the only one I didn't like coming back to it was Stars. I thought it was a little bit corny in a way, but United States is great. Yeah, that one kind of slays actually. Doomsday Clock is a great opener. That's that and Tarantula are probably my favorite off here. Some people say Bring the Light. It sounds like they didn't finish the chorus, but there are rock songs with repetitious choruses, even by some of the legacy artists. So this seems like a more garagey Melancholy. Like there's some really long songs on here. There's a couple tender ones like That's the Way My Love Is. Yeah, it's a good one. I can see why people don't like the production, but yeah, it works. It just has a garage rock sound to it. Number 3, this classic, which is maybe a lot of people's favorite, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Just another example of a band at the height of their powers who were allowed to do a double album, and they were given the budget, and they just delivered. They took all their excesses and delivered. How many songs? 28 great songs. I can't think of anything off here that I don't like. There's a couple James sings in that, but maybe I don't like quite as much as something like Porcelina of the Vast Oceans, for example, or even the classics like Tonight Tonight or Zero. 1979, XYU, which is Pummels You, Through the Eyes of Ruby. Yeah, I mean, the tender moments are some of their best moments. The rocking moments are some of the most memorable and arena ready. And even the few overplayed songs, they're still great, I thought I was sick of Bullet with Butterfly Wings. But, when I listen to it front to back again, it's like, yeah, this is a good song. Same with Zero, which I kind of played out as a teenager. But, going back, it's like, wow, it's a great song. Bullet with Butterfly Wings, I wouldn't put in my top 30 Smashing Pumpkins songs, but it's great. And same with 1979. And some people are going to say you're putting this one above Melancholy, but I always loved this one. This is probably the first one I bought, because like I said, Ava Adore was the first song I heard, but by the time this album cycle started in 2000 and the band announced they were breaking up, I started to become a fan. Everlasting Gaze is one of my favorite songs by them. It's so different than anything else they ever did. It really, it rocks. Like, it's heavy, and then it's got those really kind of beautiful passages, and Jimmy's drumming is off the charts. That might be that, or the other song, Stand Inside Your Love. That one's my favorite for a completely other reason. Like, it's very kind of bittersweet and sentimental, and he's wearing his heart on his sleeve. And I know that a lot of people say this one's a little bloated, like it's too long. It's probably 70 something minutes. There's 15 tracks. I get that, but this is the band that did Melancholy, with 28 songs, and those were all good. So why can't these all be good? But I get it. Some people think it's bloated or the production's not to their liking. I got used to it very fast. You know, it's one of my most played front to backs. Yeah, it's a great one. And then, surprising no one, Siamese Dream is going to be the number one. And I was playing this a couple weeks ago, I guess, and yeah, sometimes when I haven't listened to it for a little while, I forget how great it is. I know it's great, but you know, there's not a wasted minute or a wasted note on here. You know, Cherub Rock is one of the best openers in the rock era, I would say. Quiet just kind of slays you, to use that word again. Today, Hummer, Rocket, which I didn't know was a single when I was young. I had no idea because I don't remember much music playing it. I don't know. Or the radio for that matter. Disarm, which, you know, goes in a completely other direction but is great. Yeah, I could name every song. Mayonnaise, of course, the lyrics mean a lot there. That's a great one. Yeah, Butch Vig, you know, he made some magic in his production. Billy, of course, helped him. I'm not sure how true it is that this is all Billy and Jimmy on the record and they just toured with Darcy and James. If that's correct, I mean, I know they did that for Tarantula years and years later, but man, those two, they're such talented individuals. I think, despite Jimmy being in one of the most popular rock bands of all time, he's somehow an underrated drummer. And, you know, he does some very jazzy things, even though he's a rock drummer and he drums really hard and everything. But he's somehow underrated. And Billy, I mean, you know, he's become problematic on off and on, but he's an artist. You know, he says things that kind of ruffle people's feathers, but you know, if at the end of the day, he's a massively talented songwriter, and you know, I know that some people don't like his voice. It's so distinct. It works so well for the band, and yeah, I love the Smashing Pumpkins, and I look forward to all that they're, you know, up to, all that they're gonna release soon. Yeah, the fact that they're still active, they came back, you know, 7 years after they broke up, and they're still doing, you know, some really good things, and I think it's gonna get even better. I really feel that with the upcoming couple projects and the Machina remaster and everything else, and yeah. So anyway,